the reality is the only way that you're going to actually change any of those, not only of those behaviors, the relationships and how you feel about them, is by looking into yourself. It's not by looking out to other people. There are ways that you can adjust, but it can only happen with yourself and how you are going to react to something differently. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
Hey, you guys. I'm Rachel. You're back. Welcome back. Oh, man.
That was quite the welcome back.
Oh, man. That was all that I had. That was all. I put it all
You
into the
peaked
first
right
sentence.
there.
Right
We're
there.
30 seconds in and you peaked.
I'm on the decline from now on. Oh, being 39 is fun. What's all going on over there? Look at your setup.
Oh, it's a work in progress over here,
I'm so proud of you.
Moving's fun. Setting up is fun. We got a new dishwasher this week. This is your 30s right here. We got a new dishwasher. There's a new toilet coming.
Luxurious.
Which is the luxury happening around here. It just all happened to happen on the same week that my partner's in South Africa. So
you know what's so funny is I was like looking at our text messages like over the past like couple months because I was looking for something, I don't know, an address you sent me or something. I was like trying to scroll through messages and I was like, wow, our text messages have really changed. One time I woke up to a text message from you that said, oh my God, my organizers are arriving today and I couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited.
Just so excited.
For like a hair dryer organizer that goes underneath the sink.
Sometimes it's the little things that are you're just like, I can't wait to get this organized. And honestly, I feel like that plays into a lot of what we're going to discuss today.
It does. Did you like my ching?
It's a
Did
great
you like my
segue.
segue?
Yeah. I mean, I am very I think a lot of people do this at different times in their lives, but we all go through significant changes every 5 to 7 years. You change like as a human. I think a lot of people notice some of the things where like they have like new allergies or a food aversion or like things like that they haven't had before, and they're like, what's going on? Did I hit 32 and this happened? And it's like, no, that's not the only thing. You have psychological changes going on, and you have like kind of this like natural reevaluation of life things. This can be disrupted with a major event, whatever, but these things definitely happen. And I think those are really exciting times personally, because I think that you have the opportunity to say like, okay, so these are some of the things that have worked really well for me and that are going really well and I love, and just I'm awesome at this. And this is the handful of things that I really struggle at. I'm unhappy with how they go. I'm unhappy with maybe how these conversations go. I'm unhappy with my reaction. I'm unhappy with how I handle some of these things. And I think that for every person you have these, even if you are constantly working on like self-improvement, you have them no matter what. So when we notice them, I would really love for us to start some of this episode with compassion for some of those things. And not only compassion though, because sometimes we stay there and we say like, well, I'm just feeling compassionate for myself and I'm not going to get stuck there. Okay, but what's the action item that we're going to do to change that behavior? Because you have decided it's not working for you. So we're going to talk about it.
So we've got a therapy session for you today. Kelsey is more than qualified to lead this therapy session, and I'm just an idiot. But I'm because here's my tidbit. I think you, along with yourself, also your taste buds change every 5 to 7 years. Isn't that right? Did I make that up?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Or food aversions. Like, yeah, like your taste buds change, like your
is it
hormones
weird?
change. I know it is weird, right?
I've been going strong now, 39 years loving cheese though. That's not changed.
Well,
If I woke up one day and was like, I don't feel like cheese today, I would bring myself to the hospital. I would say something's very
I would
wrong.
feel weird about that too because
Right?
I wouldn't be okay with you being like, "I don't want nachos." I would be like, "Oh, we should
If
commit
you
her."
sit down to a table with me and you say like, "Hey, you want to split a nacho appetizer?" and I say no, like it's over. That's it. Something
So
is so wrong. But with the researching like this technique and this therapy, and like we looked a lot at how to address some of these areas in your life that you feel, damn, this just like really isn't going well. It continues to not go well. I continue in these patterns where I feel like this one area, my job, this one area, my partnership, this one area, like, and it doesn't always have to be just one area, right? Sometimes everything all falls apart at once and you're just like, wow, it's all burning down. And you're like the dog in front of the dumpster, but everything's fine. But there are usually reoccurring themes where you go, man, I just see a pattern in this one area. And knee jerk, for me at least, and many people, I believe, just from simply having been to therapy, is like a blame kind of mentality. It's like, well, if my job would go better if like I didn't have to deal with customers every day, they're just so horrible, and like, oh, my partnership would go better if like anybody ever appreciated me around here, and stuff like that. But I think that in this spirit and season of like change and like looking hard at what we are getting out of life and what we feel like we're really missing out on or lacking. I think that this is an important discussion because it introduces I think a tactic that people may not have heard of or used in the past. And so we're going to get a little Lightning McQueen on you here. You don't get that because you didn't have a kid in the Cars era, but you have to turn left to go right. And what we're going to talk about today is a therapy technique of opposite action. And it's basically whatever you think would be an appropriate reaction to this, you try the opposite. And it's really actually very proven and very powerful for changing those like behavior patterns that may have you stuck in an area of your life where you're just not happy with it.
yeah. And the thing about this is like you're identifying that you're unhappy in these ways, right? Like you are identifying like these are parts of your life that you either don't like your own reactions or are feeling just unfulfilled or unhappy with them. And I think that the common theme there is that sometimes we're noticing this, like maybe we're noticing like our reactions in our partnership, but really it's our reactions to that similar theme in all of our relationships. Or are we constantly reacting with things like stress or overwhelmed? Or what are our repeatable, like, I don't want to say like repeatable offenders, but what are our repeatable offenders
They are.
essentially that are making us unhappy or unfulfilled? And how can we really take ownership of them and start looking inward in order to make those adjustments? Because the reality is, and I'm just going to hit you with it straight, the reality is the only way that you're going to actually change any of those, not only of those behaviors, the relationships and how you feel about them, is by looking into yourself. It's not by looking out to other people and asking them to change. That's a fail. You're set up to fail. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you of ways that you're going to fail. There are ways that you can adjust, but it can only happen with yourself and your reactions and how you are going to react to something differently. We've talked so many times in this podcast about pathways that have been developed reactions that have been developed, behaviors that have been developed over years. And it is extremely difficult to change them, just as the same as it is to change a behavior, it's the same amount of difficulty, probably more, to change a pathway that leads to a certain reaction. So, in order to develop new ones, we have to be so purposeful and in going after them and almost attacking them in order to change into a new behavior. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
And
Opposite action.
this is even a little more wild because you're not only acknowledging and attacking, but you're doing something that is so opposite, literally opposite of your normal and typical reaction, that it's going to feel so unnatural. It's going to feel so crazy at first. But that's kind of the point of the therapy, and is to disrupt these patterns. And it was so interesting to me when we were looking at, the science behind this, and I'll put some of the studies in the show notes. But when you think about opposite action, it almost seems at first like outrageous. Like the like, how would I possibly, right? But this is when I talk to people about behaviors that they're unhappy with, or when I'm discussing a behavior that I'm unhappy with someone else, the one thing that is always a key flag for, like, hey, you may want to reevaluate this, is like, I've always done it like that.
You know
Oh
what? I
yeah.
had this coach who has recently won like so many awards for leadership, and he's written a book as well. And he used to say this thing to me all the time: if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got. And if you've decided that what you've got is not what you're happy with, telling me that you're going to continue to do what you've always done is going to yield the same results. So if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. So if you're happy with your results, then I'm gonna back the fuck off, right? Then you're happy, you're thriving, like you're doing it. Like, I have nothing to add
I'm
here.
here to clap.
I'm
I'm
here to
just here to
clap for
clap.
you. But if you're unhappy with the results, then you need to adjust.
I think that is one of the hardest things to do, because first of all, as you said, building those new pathways takes a lot of work. And I also think it's one of the hardest things to admit, is where people get stuck, is that the thing that they've been doing has been so wrong all this time,
Yeah.
or has been ineffective all this time.
And it does something that I think a lot of people lean on, and I have done this as well. So I just want to like bring that to the forefront as like, this is so natural, is the explanation of why you have done it the way that you've done it in
Oh
the
my
past.
God, that's so me.
Like,
Oh, wait,
because
let
at
me
first,
prove to you that,
yeah.
like, this way I've been doing it, it makes so much sense. Is I'm constantly trying to reason out why my tactic really should be working.
It should be working, even though the results say that it's not. But we do have a lot of reasons why our behaviors are the way that they are, or why our reactions are the way that they are. And that's why when it comes to, and we're going to talk about like, this action in therapy, when it comes to, talk therapy, and we talk about, trauma-based responses, and we talk about behaviors that are built on family systems, family values, what you've always been taught, these things have been ingrained in you from a really young age and have been developed at really important developmental stages. And there is a ton of validity there and proof as to why you respond in the ways that you do. And I'm sure everyone has multiple examples of this, but I've talked in the past about, I am someone who will constantly second guess something that I'm seeing or noticing, or my intelligence level, because I have a really terrible experience with feeling like I didn't have a handle of what was going on in school. I was like out to lunch sometimes, I'm missing things. So I'm like, I must be missing something. And that will have me constantly second guessing, even though I'm just picking up on things that others aren't, but I'm second guessing them like constantly. But that's a learned behavior. But I have to get really uncomfortable with putting myself out there and trying, even though I might be wrong or I might have missed something. And that's a really uncomfortable feeling for me, because I don't want, it's almost like I don't want anyone to know that like I could be wrong about this. Like there is a chance that you could be wrong. You're definitely going to fail and you're going to be wrong sometimes. But you have to do, like you have to push yourself out of that comfort zone in order to try to create some of those new pathways. And they're really difficult.
Yeah,
One of
and
the other
it's really difficult. Like I'm glad that you just brought up the fact that it's some of these behaviors are more difficult for others. Like, of course, no one really likes to be wrong, and no one likes to have it pointed out that they missed something, right? But some people have more of an aversion of that to others than others, and it can even go into like a trauma-based response for something like that. So it's not this like one size fits all. Like, hey, if you react that way, here's why it's wrong. We totally are recognizing the fact that some people have these, as you said, these things that have happened either in childhood or developmental stages that is just like, it has made, but you're not a tree. You don't like
yeah,
it? Get up and move. Right. So like now,
exactly.
even though that is all true and that's all valid, and you are more likely to have an adverse reaction than me to being wrong, it still doesn't change the fact that you're not a tree.
100%. And it doesn't change the fact that like my goals and what I would like to see and where I would like to see myself grow and step out of my comfort zone aligns with those feelings of uncomfortable and taking chances at being wrong. Like it you have to take those chances. And I think for a lot of people, when you start to think about these things, and some I just am like, some of them are so hard. Like they really are. When you're thinking about the opposite of the other thing that you want to do, there's a scale, right? When I'm thinking about the opposite of something that comes more, I want to say natural to me, like comfort, not that I'm super confrontational, but I am more likely to be confrontational than to withdraw and go into more of like a silence. I'm more likely to be like, no, no, no. Like we talked
Let
about
me
this.
tell you something.
Let me tell you
I have
something.
something to say.
But for other people, confrontation is extremely difficult. And there are steps. That doesn't mean you're going to turn into this like super confrontational person, but how you can do the opposite instead of just like maybe letting something slide or like burying it down. Maybe the opposite for you looks like saying something like, I'm feeling really emotional about this right now and I would like to talk about it at some point. I'm not sure I can do it right now, but I want to. Just getting that out there. Maybe like the moment is too hot, too confrontational for you, but at least you've put something out there. You did the opposite instead of just withdrawing and going silent. Like some of these things are just really important to think about them on a scale. And I would really love for you guys to think about the extremes, what you would consider to be the extremes of your opposite, because likely it's on a scale of that's working in the right direction.
Totally. So I just want to get into a little bit of the brain science behind this research-based therapy, which we're calling it opposite action, but it has a therapeutic name, which is DBT. And it is a commonly used tactic for, people who are having difficulty regulating any emotion. And then that emotion is leading to an action that is they've determined less than ideal for their life, right? It's not working them in the direction of their goals and what they want out of this life. So
Something I recently heard that just validates that too is like all feelings are valid, all behaviors are not. And
let's
I
go.
was
That's this
like,
whole episode.
yeah, I was like, yeah, exactly. Like if you're using your reaction, your behavior like as like the excuse is your feelings. Like your feelings are valid. All feelings are valid. Behaviors are not.
I I'll I'll skip. I'm going to come back to the brain research because you just hit on something that I really want to make sure that we cover when it comes to opposite action, and the way that we're going to use this technique is this is not an emotion suppressing technique. Not at all. Okay. We are not saying if you usually feel sad, try feeling happy. Like,
have you have you
have
tried feeling
you
happy?
heard of happiness? It's like this
That's
new
like
thing.
when men or women or you tell anyone to calm down. It's like I haven't tried.
I
Thank
hadn't
you.
thought of it. I'm all fired up and I could be calm. Look at you with your ideas. Okay, so the emotion should never be suppressed. Emotions cannot be suppressed, arguably, in therapy. They are coming like waves to the surface, whether you're asking them to or not, right? We think a lot of emotions as voluntary, but I think the more that we can recognize them as something that ebbs and flows and is not necessarily the be all end all of the rest of our life, the better, right? Emotion comes, fine, not judging it at all, not suppressing it at all. But what is the thing that we're going to address is the action that comes with said emotion. When I feel sad, I withdraw. Okay, sadness, emotion, withdraw, action. We want to change the action associated with the emotion if it's not serving you. If you find that sadness and withdrawing because of it is not serving your overall happiness in your life. When I am frustrated, I lash out. If you find the action behind that emotion, and we're never gonna say don't get frustrated or try being like super like, whoa, I don't care about nothing. Like, it's not about that. That emotion can come. We're just going to change our reaction to that emotion to the literal opposite, which is going to be challenging, but it's also going to be, I don't know. I like a challenge.
I love a challenge and
As
I love the idea. Here's the thing. I love the idea that short-term discomfort is for long-term gain, right? So if you look at it in a way of like this short-term discomfort for this opposite action is for my long-term gain and resilience in this life and will serve me well, that backdrop, you're going to find your why, but that backdrop for me is so powerful that it overrides my seeking of comfort for the moment, because I know that if I can just get through the short-term discomfort for a long-term gain, I will be better off. I will have better relationships. I'll have better organization in my house. I'll have more clarity. Like I will be closer to the person that I want to be. And I don't know how everyone feels about this. I love myself, but I'm not the person that I want to be. So I'm constantly striving for that. I don't know if that's healthy or not. I think you guys can all decide for yourselves, of like how that balance looks like for you. But for me, finding that why and answering with that when you feel the need to back away from that discomfort. So it's like, I'm going to lean in here.
I so that's the other real crux that this episode is really meaning to address is the fact that comfort seeking behavior is both expected and it's natural. However, it's not always productive. So because you're seeking comfort and it feels right, comfort for the moment, does not mean that it is serving your overall expectations of what you want and your goals just because at that moment you feel comforted. And I think as a society, it's really, really difficult to keep this in sight because we have so many comforts that are readily available to us. And
And
that
emotions play on that, because like
it,
what you just talked about is like emotions are like ebbs and flows. And I think everyone, it it benefits everyone from a good reminder to that emotions, they just aren't forever. This this is another repeatable thing for me. I feel emotions in a big way. So over the years with DBT help, so this is why I love this episode, is the experience of emotions is temporary. And sometimes when you're feeling them really big and you're deciding what action to take, it's really important to remind yourself that this is a temporary emotion. This is a temporary feeling. It is absolutely going to pass. And I need to, for me, I'm like, I need to decide what action is next that is going to serve my goal. Now, this, I'm telling you, we're not going about this in a way of like, yeah, just have you tried to be happy? No. Like, or have you tried not withdrawing? But there are certain action items that can be put in place in a really small way that lead you towards the reactions that you are going to decide are more desirable, and that you have decided, I don't want to feel this way anymore, and I've done it for years, and I'm not going to do what I've always done. I'm going to choose to feel better.
But not at that very moment.
Not at that moment, but you're going to choose to feel better in your life. Like, you're going to choose to have a better, deeper connection with someone because you're going to seek out the discomfort of that conflict. You're going to choose to, for me, I'm hoping to become more organized. And I'm going to I'm going to try to get past that, like the discomfort and the kind of like, it's an executive function stopper, because I'm going to put these other things in place that's going to make me feel calmer on a daily basis. This is going to help. It's going to be hard to get there. That in the end, you're going to get the results that you want. And that's what we want for you.
So scientifically, I think what is really the coolest part of the therapy that we're discussing today is that you can strengthen the part of your brain that is in charge of doing things that you might initially resist. This is the part of the brain that is in charge of perseverance, right? When we face immediate frustration or difficulty or challenge in a task, the ability to stick with it through that discomfort, that is actually an area of the brain that can be strengthened and weakened. And you see this in so many examples of the people you interact with on a daily basis. Some people just have more resilience to be able to withstand crisis, small obstacles, large obstacles, stick with a task when it becomes more than difficult. But they weren't born like that. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands the fact that this is actually an area of your brain. It's the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. I hope I said that right. And this is,
if you didn't, the internet will know. We'll let you know from the back seats.
I should have put the lady on Google that says like anterior midsecular cortex. You know how she talks? Did I do that right?
AMCC. Yeah.
The AMCC. I should have abbreviated that. That's basically your tenacity. And it can be developed and strengthened. And that's what I really think is like the most hopeful thing about opposite therapy, is that this is like your grit. This is your resilience. That's the part of your brain that maintains the high cognitive functioning as you age. So this part of your brain is well worth it, but it is an area that has to be developed, specifically if it's underdeveloped from constant comfort-seeking behavior, which is a lot of our daily lives. Quick interruption, guys. We are always talking about the importance of community to help you along your journey, to keep you motivated, to surround you with like-minded people. And we have a massive, massive community to do just that. If you haven't already, get in our fitness group on Facebook, Fitness Programming by CVG. Get on our app, CVG Nation.
we've got hundreds of thousands of women on there who are just waiting to cheer you on. And we cannot wait to meet you. Get with us on our channels. We love to see you there.
I think that the proof behind this is that we see these incredible stories that we read about, right, of perseverance and tenacity and just overcoming hardships. And sometimes we just think, like, how the hell did this person, like, quote unquote, come out on top, make it through that? How are they constantly taking some of these life challenges and turning them into opportunities, or turning them, like, they've had such a traumatic past? How are they even going? Never mind,
I
like,
can't even
thriving.
turn my laundry around.
100%. And sometimes, like, we see the proof is out there, and sometimes we just look at some of these examples as the exception to the rule, and we say, like, they just have something that I don't. And in a lot of ways they do
Yes.
right now, because they have developed this specific area of their brain where their level of resilience is just so high that everyday aggravations or small inconveniences, they don't compare to what they know they can overcome, what they know that they have developed. And they aren't responding the same way. And but they're not conditioned to respond in the same way. So in a lot of ways, I think sometimes we separate ourselves from the exceptional and think, like, I could never, right? Like, we say that all the time. And in a lot of ways, sometimes you just sit back and you just admire other humans and say, like, wow, that's amazing. But I think there is something to be learned from that when we're talking about reasons for our past to explain our current behaviors. And we have other examples that counteract that. And we say, like, well, I do have a lot of trauma, or I do have some of these other indicators that are really difficult for me. They are difficult, that's real. But if I can work to develop the AMCC, if I can work to develop that area of my brain to increase my resilience and to increase my grit, these are things that we really want. We want to see them in other people. We want to develop them in our kids. We want to develop them in ourselves. But how do we do that? And that's what's really exciting about this episode, is we're going to tell you how to do that. Because it's not just like, well, I
Have
don't
you
want to
tried harder?
experience like, have you tried harder? Like, oh, I haven't had some of that trauma. I haven't developed that grit as a human, whatever. But there's so many different levels of this, and there's so many ways we can continue to develop as long as you're alive and you're breathing on this planet. So there is opportunity to grow. Your age is not an excuse. None of these things are an excuse for this podcast today. We're gonna tell you some ways that you can develop these, and DBT is a great form of therapy. I'm always very partial to it because I like action. I never liked I never really liked talk therapy in a way that we're, like, constantly going to talk about the things that have harmed you, or, like, we can use that as baseline for an explanation because it really gives a good idea of why these behaviors are the way that they are, but we cannot continue to lean on them. We have to look at how we can adjust them for the future. So I don't know if we've said DBT is a dialectical behavioral therapy, and it's a cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's designed to help people understand and accept their emotions, learn skills to manage their emotions, make positive changes in their lives, tolerate distress, so helpful, avoid harmful behaviors, and improve interpersonal relationships. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is because there's not going to be a time in your life where you're not going to have to tolerate distress. And I think we're just always hoping for life, in a lot of ways. We're hoping for life to get easier. We're hoping to just get past this bump or this time in our lives. And it's like, this life is actually not that long. And if we're always waiting to get past a certain point of it, you're going to miss your whole life.
Not only that, but guess what?
And you
It's
miss the
like
opportunities.
it's like after that one, there's gonna be another one. So like the more that we just it's everything calms down right after this in perpetuity, like forever. That is because when that one thing resolves itself, there's always going to be another,
It
and
puts on a different mask.
it's not to say that that
It's
has to be, an upsetting thing or like a stress loop, because when we really boil it down, most of the things are things that we enjoy or get some energy from, or I mean, like I've heard moms say like, oh my god, well, I'm on the PTO and like it's just so stressful right now because it's soccer and PTO and then Boy Scouts and then all of these things. It's like, but wait, I've seen your face at your kid's soccer game. You are genuinely in heaven enjoying yourself, watching your child do something that they enjoy. So let's make sure we make the space for like the fact that these like distress speed bump like type of we just got to get past this thing are actually the things that make up your life, and let's not be in a rush to skip over them. But I think the categories that you just said that DBT like sort of addresses when we're thinking about how to use opposite action therapy, it's like, okay, pretty much anything that you're going to point to as an area of your life that you want improvement in is going to fall into one of those categories. It's either going to be interpersonal relationships, tolerating distress, learning skills to manage your emotion, accepting your emotions, all of the things. If you say like, well, my thing is that I really want to start a blog and I just never start it. I want to. I know that I could do it really well. I know that it would bring me happiness and joy, but I just never I never start it. You can probably look at that list and say like, what is going on there can be addressed with DBT, because you are, what is it? Is it your inability to tolerate distress? Are you having a negative feeling at the outlook of something that might seem difficult, like starting a blog? Is that going to be too hard? Is that going to make you uncomfortable? And then, how do we manage that emotion? If your knee-jerk reaction to starting your blog is that like fear of people not liking it not coming out right, it not comparing to all the other amazing bloggers that are out there, how are you managing that emotion? With avoidance, because that's not managing said emotion. And so if we can talk about some of the behaviors or the areas of your life that you want to adjust, and we can boil it down to what is the emotion that you're feeling in this situation, and then what is your reaction to it. If we did the opposite, what would happen? And I think that if you're thinking of an area of your life right now that like this might work in, let's go through, maybe we could go through like some examples of where we could identify the emotion, sit with it for a second, accept it. There's no shame. It's just a wave that comes in, right? It's not going to last forever. And then identify what you would have done.
Yes.
And then the complete opposite of that.
So something that I have done when thinking about this and putting it into practice, something that I've done is exactly that. Like sometimes I go through, what do I want to do right now in response to this emotion? And what is number one, like what's the opposite of that? And what aligns with what I want to be? And one of the things for me has been like in difficult or challenging situations, I like to remove. I like to pull away. Now, this has always happened in a lot of my partnerships. I pull away that feels very cold. But that's like, I'm in a self-preservation. Self-preservation is probably my highest reaction. And it's like, okay, when you're in one of those moments where you're like, I want to really pull away from this right now, but I want to be brave. So some of the things when it pops into my mind, I want to be brave. What does bravery look like for me in this moment? What does vulnerability look like? Because vulnerability, I've identified, is being brave. That's a very uncomfortable feeling. I don't like it. It trickles in different areas of not wanting to be wrong, not wanting to be vulnerable. It's the same thing. Okay, so being vulnerable is being brave. How can I lean in to bravery? How can I lean into that type of vulnerability that it feels so uncomfortable and unnatural, and you're like, it's almost like baby deer, because you're like, I'm stumbling around here just trying to figure it out. Like, because you don't have your
I look
practice.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I look ridiculous. I don't even know if this sounds.
I just fell.
Is that what vulnerable sounds like? But sometimes you get like, you know what I mean? You're like, I don't know. Was that right? Like, but sometimes when you just share that and know, and you say like, I'm really trying to lean in and stay open to what you're saying, and stay open to a different response that isn't anger and isn't withdrawing. I'm trying to stay open to this. And I don't really know I don't even know what to do here, but I'm leaning in. That is doing the opposite. Like, that is like, you may not have a perfect response, but just doing not the thing that you want to do and trying to lean in an opposite direction is changing those pathways and is opening the door to get better at it. So I just want to open with like an example like that, because your first time trying something like this can be really, for you, it's going to be really awkward. And that's why a lot of people, report the first time they go to the gym too. They feel really awkward. They feel uncomfortable. Like, but the more you get there, you're just like, well, my shorts get shorter and take off my shirt. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean? But like, that's very practice. But when it comes to trying something that is so opposite of the behavior that you're used to, if you feel uncomfortable and if you feel awkward, I just want you to know you're doing it right.
You're doing it right. That's exactly what you should be feeling. And yes, definitely baby deer legs for sure.
You
So
want to give
on
an
the note
example?
of, yes, I'm going to give my example.
Okay.
Yes, mine is on frustration. So when feeling of frustration
You always
comes,
do this when you're frustrated.
I know. I have certainly, there are physical responses, but like my go-to, okay, frustration comes in. It's an immediate vent. And if you didn't listen to the venting episode, it's quality stuff. Absolutely changed my life. And I am now using this combination of like, venting isn't actually helping you, making you feel better or solving the problem. Not only that, but because that's my knee-jerk reaction, I'm using it with this therapy to do the opposite. So frustration is the feeling. My typical response is venting, yelling, being overwhelmed, wanting to tell everyone I'm overwhelmed. That's a big part.
Yeah.
If I'm just overwhelmed, all lonely, it's like not as good.
It's not as good.
I gotta let you know. Have you heard I'm overwhelmed? Let me tell you about it.
A lot of people are going to relate to that.
So you already know we make the best workout gear, but one of our best products, our highest rated product on our website, is actually our collagen. If you have not heard about Glow Up by CVG, you are missing out. There is almost 700 5-star reviews on this product because it is such an amazing supplement. Actually, looking at it today, there are only 2 1-stars that were meant to be 5 stars. They love the product, they hit the wrong amount of stars. This is one of our most popular products for a reason. It dissolves like no other collagen. It's type 1 and 3. You're going to have healthier skin, better joint mobility. Everything about this collagen makes it easy to put into your daily routine. So if you haven't tried Glow Up, get on cvg.com and make sure to add it to cart today. It's our best product.
My opposite reaction that I've been working on is laughing. And at first, it was super weird. Like something frustrating would happen, and I'd go, "You have to laugh." And then I'd go, "Ha." Like that.
Just the air laugh.
And then like I'm like just like okay. But honestly, that one little behavior because the other one was like my other like frustration happened, then like the seeking, like I'm looking for like who can I unload this on, right? The laugh, like now if I do that around someone's like what's going on, what are you laughing at? And then me launching into an event doesn't seem appropriate at all. It doesn't seem like the next step. So I just start going, oh, man, people are crazy. That's what I've.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if that is recommended by therapists. People are crazy, but I've just started with radical acceptance of like, man, there's a lot of things out of my control. And that like
But what's
thing
in my
and
control is my response here. So
here.
yeah.
And then later I try to get to gratitude. So I try the air laugh is first. And then I do some sort of statement of radical acceptance of like, I just am not in control of everything. That sucks. And then I try to get to, I am so thankful that I have the ability to interact with all of these people on a daily basis because, you know, say it's a work frustration. I have built a really amazing company that all of these people are a part of and they want to be a part of every day. And that feels just so, so good to me. And that's how am I doing? Is that okay?
That's great. I love the icing of gratitude. I think it's such an important practice that so many of us could really benefit from on a daily basis. Honestly, practicing gratitude, I can 100% say has changed my life. So I am a big proponent of ending an emotional response with forms of gratitude because um, it's a game changer. It's been a game changer right now, like throughout my pregnancy. There are some frustration and hardships and like just things anyone who's been pregnant knows things that come up. But at the end of the day, I'm extremely grateful and happy. So that kind of overwhelms all of the other minor inconveniences of feeling like I wasn't able to move these boxes and this is like that. Those are so small. They're so
So
small
small.
in
And
the grand scheme.
but like you accept those coming in. It's not a blockage of those. I just want to make sure like it's not like I'm never going to feel frustrated again. I feel frustrated multiple times a day, guys. I'm not trying to block that emotion from coming in. I'm just trying to see what would happen. It's like a scientific experiment. Like
Yeah.
frustration is going to happen to me. That's a knee jerk for me. I'm experimenting with what would happen if I reacted in the opposite way that I normally do. What maybe it sucks. And
I
I'm
think
like, no, I don't want that.
that brings up a wonderful point as you're trying some of these things out. Some of them you're going to be experimenting with them in your interpersonal relationships. I just want to leave space for this because I think it's a really important point. If you're trying some of these things out and maybe your person that you've constantly been experiencing like frustration with or people in your life, as you try out a new behavior pattern, they might be confused. And that's okay. And sometimes I think it's really important to kind of explain what you're doing and what you're trying out, because in your initial attempt to do something different, you might get some negative feedback, and that might make you never want to try it again. And it's really important to keep trying. What has helped me with this is being vulnerable is really difficult for me. And the first time I tried, I kind of got I got some negative feedback. It didn't yield the results that I wanted. This isn't working. I'll go back in my mind. This isn't working. I'm going to go back.
I knew it.
I
knew it all along.
You're reaffirming that like, this is just not the way to do it. I don't feel good about it, whatever. But I came back and said like, so I'm trying to lean in and I'm trying to be vulnerable and say what I want, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that. And this response to that wasn't helpful to me. So now you're trying to think like, well, what is? I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out what mine is. But I know that this one wasn't. So maybe we can try something different, where I say a vulnerable thing and maybe you just don't respond right away. Maybe you just say something like, okay, I really hear what you're saying and I'm going to think about that. Because maybe that's going to help like roll it along, instead of being like, well, that's not it because that's not what I meant and your feelings shouldn't be hurt. It's like, well, my feelings are hurt. Feelings are hurt.
It's a really good point that, you got to account for the fact that if you're going to go off the rails and do completely
the opposite
of what you've
you're
been
over
doing,
here laughing
people
when
are
you're
going to notice.
frustrated.
This is what I'm saying. My husband's like, it's like I said no to nachos at the restaurant or something. Like, she's broken. She's literally
Is this thing on?
what the hell? She needs a restart. So yeah, no, it's a really good piece of advice to maybe let your people know, or even just like in a small way, just like, I'm just trying this out. Oh no, I'm just running an experiment because like I've been really not happy with the way that it's been going with like my giant venting sessions. It's not really been serving me.
That's a great point with the venting sessions too, because you have people who you've been venting to. So they're going to, when you express frustration, they're going to go to the same old thing. They're like, okay, do you want to vent here? And they're going to almost like they're opening up the door, because that's what the behavior that they're used to from you. And it's really important to kind of say like, you know what? I don't
feed that bear.
Don't feed that bear. That's not the direction that I want to go in. I just want to go in the like, people are crazy. Then I want to end it with some gratitude. Like, it's not the direction I want to go in because it's not helpful for me, and I'm really trying something different. Is like, honestly, you open up the door for everyone else to try something different too, which is something I love.
Hey, I mean, you guys want to get on this train?
You guys want to get? We're feeling really good over here.
I mean, are you like perfect or something? Because if not, maybe you try to get on this train. I mean, I just think this is super relatable because everybody has that area. Sometimes it's like all the areas, and sometimes it's just a couple. But like, there's no one I think that couldn't use this. And I just wanted to give one more example of where this can be used real life, because I think this is a common one with people with, there's a lot of fear of failure. And I think that there's so much inaction and so much regret and so much feelings of like unfulfillment with this type of reaction to fear. Is, you fear something and you go ahead and go on the track of like, all right, mental list of all the reasons that this is risky. I'm going to imagine all of the worst case scenarios, everything that could possibly go wrong here. And, everybody, I think a lot of people can nod along to this is like, yes, like that's how I feel when I want to start something new or when something is feeling scary to me. But this is one of the examples where doing the opposite is going to feel really, really difficult. Because if you're used to going ahead and assessing all the risks, and instead you have to take an action step immediately, it's going to be like, oh my God, like, but wait, I haven't even gone through all the ways this could go wrong. First, go through all the ways this could go wrong. Second, don't do it. But like, how's that been working for you? You know what I mean? So like, maybe that order isn't it. And maybe instead we can go to like, fear of failure. With a person, I go immediately up to them and talk to them. Fear of failure with a job, I immediately speak to a supervisor about, I'd really like to get a meeting with you to discuss something. It's making a plan of action where before there was a plan of inaction. And that's going to be one of the hardest ones to use this therapy with. But I just want to assure you that there are small steps that you can do, that you don't have to address it right then and there, head on with the horns. Like, even just setting an appointment to discuss it, setting an appointment to make action. Okay, instead of listing all the risks and why I shouldn't do this, I'm going to say, tomorrow at 3:00, I'm going to do one thing that gets me closer to this, and whatever it is. And like, it really is a game changer in the way of inaction versus action and moving towards the kinds of things you want. You can use this for the gym, you know?
I I really love that point with an appointment. I do well with structure, and I had been leaning away from strong emotional responses right away, but then it seemed like they were getting missed. And something that I had recently done to have a hard conversation was, we said we're gonna talk about this on Wednesday at 5:30. And it was great because everyone could come prepared, and just knowing that like that is, and it seems like that's like weird. Are you making an appointment to have, a personal discussion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am.
because it's important to me. We're both floundering here and trying to figure out how to do it best. We're tired. You don't want to do it at the end of the day, 8 p.m. when you're putting people to bed, you're done doing dishes, you're like, I don't have much to give you right now. And having those discussions at that time is just not helpful for anyone. And I really love the suggestion of setting an appointment or setting a timeline for the action that you want. Because if you don't, it's this never ending thing, and your life is essentially going by. So set the time that you would like to see, like you would like to have that conversation, you would like to see that change, you would like to make a decision, you would like something done, whatever it is. It's really important to give yourself that respect. And this is how I frame it, because that's what's helpful to me, is I respect myself enough to be able to honor those emotions and be able to honor this conversation, or be able to honor what it is, what my needs are, to get them met, that I'm going to make an appointment to do so. The last one that I kind of wanted to also just dive into a little bit was sadness, because I think that people get a lot of confusion around what the opposite action is surrounding sadness, because it feels like it's happiness. But we're not talking about replacing an emotion with a different emotion, right? We're talking about how we're managing, what our action is to feeling sad. So if typically you're feeling sad and you're feeling like this is an ongoing theme in my life, first of all, you can always talk to a therapist and reach out to outside resources. It's really important. But if you feel like your typical response to feeling sad all the time is withdrawal, being lethargic, and inaction, which is very common, I would implore you to make the opposite response of calling someone, reaching out to someone, leaving the house, doing something special. This is a big one, I really feel like, because in our society, we have deemed, I don't want to say like couch potato, because that feels like it came from a previous generation that also has a negative connotation, but we feel like self-care when we're feeling sad or we're feeling overwhelmed, is to withdraw, which only feeds the same feelings, just more for the future. So could we think about when you're feeling sad, doing some of the opposite, and that rest isn't actually looking like rest? And when you're feeling overwhelmed, this one's more me. What's the action that I'm going to take to feel less overwhelmed in the future? What is that? How can I lean into that a little bit? And sometimes that's looking at what resources you have. If you know that you have someone in your life who is particularly good at the thing that you're struggling with, say you're feeling like, I'm just feeling so sad all the time, but I have this really optimistic person in my life. Maybe that's the one I'm going to call right now, because I know that I can lean on them a little bit to give me a shot of optimism, that I'm not going to go into this, I call these people when I'm sad, because we just talk about all of our sadness. You know what I mean? Like, we just kind of like ruminate in the same old things. Maybe I'm going to call an optimistic person when I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I can call someone who's really good at like solving some overwhelmed feelings, or so with them. For me, like, organization is one. I would call someone who I know is really good at being organized. So I'm like, it almost feels embarrassing to call those people, because you're like, I'm so bad at this, you're so good at this, but you're looking at your resources in your life to do the opposite.
That's so true. She did call, guys. She moved her house and she was like, "Oh my God, I am a literal disaster of walking junk. Why do I have all these things? Where do they go? I don't understand how I've collected these things over the years." And instead of like, having that spiral into just like more of the same, which, like, how's that been working for you? You've moved how many times in the last 5 years? And every
Yeah.
single time you've said, I have all this stuff that I don't want. It's not organized. It doesn't have a place to live. I don't know why I'm keeping it. And you've continued that pattern. And this time you broke up the pattern. You did the opposite. You called me and said, I am a freaking hot mess of stuff. I have too much stuff. I need it to have organization. I need it to have places. That very night, we ordered some things that are going to help you with organization. It's like that opposite action might not be perfect, right? We're doing one area of one room, and that's just how it has to start, right?
It's the start, yeah.
But it's a snowball, and clearly the other way wasn't working. So
the other way of just kind
are
of
we
like
continuing?
storing the stuff, feeling like overwhelmed and like shame, and like being like, well, I'm just gonna go like lay down, or like I'm just gonna go ignore some of
No,
those
yours
feelings.
is the opposite. And I want to make space for these people too.
Yeah.
What Kelsea does when she says like, oh my God, I've got all this stuff. I have to take action on this. I'll go to the gym. Bye.
I'll get out of here. I'll go.
Bye.
I get out of
I
here.
gotta go.
I won't spend time here. I won't like, I'll
I
just
think I'm gonna go on the boat.
Yeah, I
have to
go
move
away.
next week. I think I'll go on a boat. Yeah.
I go away from it for sure. And I said, well, nope, we're going the other
Gotta
way.
go.
I gotta go. And that is definitely because we're all getting our dopamine hits in different ways, right? Because like for me, like, some people like just stay in there. But I'm like, well, I need a shot of dopamine. I feel really sad. I
Where's
feel
it
really
at?
overwhelmed. I feel shame around this thing. And I'm like, well, where's that dopamine? Let me go find it.
I'll go do something I'm good at.
But The opposite is
How's
kind of
that
like
working?
sitting and addressing it and being like, how can I really look at this to solve it for the future? Because it's uncomfortable now, but I know I'm going to feel better in the future if I just look at this right now. And like, and then you just go, okay, I need to look at this right now. What are my resources? What's the thing? Like, who could I reach out, or what could I do that's going to help me? And for me, I was like, this is the person I'm going to reach out to and talk to about this, and she's going to help me like do the thing. But it's like the opposite of what you really want to do.
I think the theme here is short-term discomfort for long-term gains, and also running experiments of opposite work for things that you just feel like haven't made any improvements and are still areas you would like to see change in your life. And so what I would really, really love if you guys can get in the comments, tell us a emotional response or a behavior based thing, and like what you're going to do for the opposite, because like I'm so invested and curious in other ways that I can get this like flowing into my life. So I want to hear what people are going to do, and get
And
in the
what you've
conversation.
identified like you're struggling with, like it can be eating patterns, it can be going to the gym, it can be any area of your life that you feel like you're going to identify. This is a small piece of the bathroom organization, right? Like there's a lot, but just identify like one area that we could adjust and do the opposite.
Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and just remember, turn left to go right.